Good morning. Green light. I go. My name is Marco Pellizzari. I'm a veterinarian. I'm involved in the management of urban pests. And today I'm going to speak a little bit in this short time about fertility control in birds in Europe. We know that Europe is a beautiful country with a considerable diversity of species. You know maybe better than me because you are in the field, in this field. There are even 500 breeding birds, 500 species breeding birds. But unfortunately, there is even sometimes we need to consider that the situation is not so stable and safe. Indeed, in the last decades, some species show to be vulnerable and even with a risk of extinction. On the other side, there is even a huge increase of opportunistic species. To quote some of them, we can mention seagulls. I speak about cities, and we can see seagulls as opportunistic, eating the garbage in every big European cities. We have, of course, starlings, parakeets, and our smart guy, Mr. the Pigeon. So we don't have to forget that, unfortunately, when present in high numbers, these birds may cause conflicts between human and wildlife. They have an ecological and economic impacts, but Joanna mentioned it before me, and so they can cause disease transmission, crop and forestry damage, reduction of native plant and animal species. World Health Organization have found pigeons, but not only them, to carry several transmissible diseases, such as ornithosis, histoplasmosis, salmonellosis, and so on. This is the reason why professionals are frequently called for managing demographic pressure caused by large population of opportunistic bird species. And as we heard before, traditional methods, which involve the death of thousands of wild animals, have shown that lethal control is ineffective. Even more, there is a growing demand for non-lethal methods. So fertility control seems to be effective and a human method that maintain low density and the increase of other ecological methods. Other ecological methods, it's not the solution, but it's part of the solution, because we need public communication, the limitation of trophic sources, and use of bird deterrence. These are mandatory together with fertility control, in my opinion. In my opinion from the field. In Europe, there are 2 veterinary medicine to control fertility specifically in pigeons. And I'm speaking about Europe because here we want to understand where we are in Europe, because here we have even somebody from the United States with another product. But okay, this is the Europe situation. We have 2 medicines, veterinary medicine. One is called Ovistop, who was registered in Italy in 2002, and one is R12, registered in Belgium in 2015. The composition of the 2 medications is extremely similar. Both utilize corn grain as a carrier and nicarbazine as the active ingredient in identical proportions. Nicarbazine is a complex of 2 compounds that have been used as a coccidiostat in broiler since the 50s of last century. At that time, it was observed a side effect on hens. Indeed, nicarbazine could reduce egg production and hatchability by compromising the integrity of vitelline membrane. This side effect was anyhow temporary, and hens fully recovered after 4-6 days stopping the treatment. It was this side effect on hens that in 1993 some Italian researchers decided to develop to control the fertility in pigeons. Since here, I can say that millions of pigeons have been treated worldwide, and this widespread application has shown a reduction at least of 30% of the treated colonies yearly, and until at least the third or the fourth year of treatment, leading to a total decrease in roughly 3-5 years to the 60% of the treated colonies. These results have been confirmed by a diverse range of scientific research studies. I can mention one of the Professor Albonetti from the University of Genova. Indeed, the research observed a significant 40% reduction in the initial 4 years, followed by an additional decrease of 65% in the subsequent 4-year period. Another interesting study, the one of Professors Gonzalez and Lavin from the Autonomous University of Barcelona, show a significant 55% reduction in the 40 pigeon colony treated, a significant reduction of juveniles, and a total absence of non-target species. These are, I think, very, very interesting outcomes. But today, I want to explore with you a contemporary practical case study currently taking place in Italy. This is to introduce a practical activity. So we will explore what's happening in a city. It's 25,000 citizens, so it can be considered a city. Due to strong complaints from the citizen, the mayor invested me to manage our abundant population. So, as every detailed study needs a group of steps to understand the situation and to find the right solution. In this case, the action were monitoring the actual situation, the critical examination of the results of the monitoring, and the development and implementation of an integrated project. The area of interest, I told you, is Mola di Bari and the historic center of the city with an extension of 0.5 square kilometers. So the monitoring took place on 19, 20, 21st of February. I told you it's very recent study. We do it constantly in hundreds of different cities in Italy and around Europe, but it is one experience. So, starting from the first light of the day, 2 operators, following previously identified linear transects, carried out a count for direct sighting of both subjects in flights and on buildings and roads. The monitoring gave the possibility to understand the areas of higher concentration, the areas with critical issues, and the number, of course, of individuals present in those areas, in the study area. So we identified 4 areas of higher concentration and several areas with critical issues. Each of these areas has been located and photographed. Just to give you an idea of what we are speaking about, we monitored every single area like this, which is an air conditioning system with an old net that is now a perfect shelter, or like this, which is an abandoned building, which is a perfect roosting and nesting site. But even like this one, that is a place, a square, where an elderly lady every morning at 8 o'clock is feeding pigeons. And like this one, where you see pigeons are waiting for what? For food, for sure, okay? Every single morning at the same time. So, as mentioned, one of the goals of the monitoring was even to count the subjects. And that's what we did. We count every day the number of pigeons, then we did the sum and the average. In this situation, they were 390. This average number is then multiplied for a correction factor that comes from the seasonal period in which we did the monitoring and from the structure of the city where did the monitoring. Yeah, because in that season specifically, pigeons are not reproducing, so they are not in the nest. So we have a good chance to see them around, even because there is a lack of crops in the countryside. And the structure of the city influences because of narrow streets, so it's not easy to see the population. So we decided to give a corrector factor of 1.8. So the average presence in the examined area was more or less about 700 subjects. So after this period of monitoring, the collected data were now examined and for the decision of what to do. And we started from the assumption, according to the Italian National Institute for Wildlife Fauna, there is here today, that the concentration of European pigeons to avoid environmental stress with inevitable human-animal conflicts should be a maximum of 300-400 individuals per square kilometer. So in this case, if we consider the extension of 0.5 square kilometers and the estimated numbers of 700 pigeons, we can understand that the number is about 4 times higher than the desired maximum density. So something must be done. So we develop an integrated operational project with 2 main kinds of action. Point actions, as I told you, we need to do more than one action. It's not, the fertility control is not enough. So limitation of resting and nesting sites in the critical points of the survey, and the territory actions with communication to citizens. They are a big part of the city. You have to communicate with them to have a positive outcome. So regulatory activities, reduction of trophic sources and demographic reduction, so a fertility control program. Okay, due to time issues, today I will tell you something about the fertility control program, which foresees a triennial activity with the use of ovistop and the placement of 5 automatic dispensers placed on the flat roofs within the areas of highest concentration. The dispensers are filled and maintained according to a known and agreed protocol between the municipality, the veterinarians, and the pest control operators. The dispenser dispenses a known dose at a set time early in the morning, and they are checked every day by a remote control, remotely by a webcam, and every 10 days in person. The outcome that we are waiting to achieve will be expected, as I told you, more or less a decrease of 50% of the population in 3 years. And if you remember, it goes down the level that is required to be easy to live in the city with the number of pigeons. So, and the outcomes will be monitored by annual monitoring with the same operational methods and in the same period of the year. So, going to the conclusion, I would like to say that pigeons fertility control with the use of nicarbazine is the modern integrated solution to humanly control pigeons in the cities. And my objective is to see this method widely adopted across Europe for the management of pigeons and other opportunistic species, because I'm sure that fertility control is the best way to develop a peaceful coexistence between humans and wildlife. Thank you.
Hi, you mentioned a study, I think, by Barcelona University, which there was no non-target impacts found. How did they assess that?
Okay, this was observed for that kind of period. Okay, they did, the observational period was 3 years, but in that period they divided, they coached 3 weeks of observation of each site, dispenser site, and they observed, they reported the presence maybe once with, I don't remember the species, the one with the black collar, the little dove with the black collar, it's a kind... Colored dove, yeah, definitely. But they are really shy, so they stay far from the dispenser. They wait until every big guy like pigeons are gone, and then they go there to eat maybe something that could be left over on the ground. So there was a specific observation of each site.
Me again. I have a question. I work at the bird hospital, and they desperately need some information about not only the pigeons, because there is a law in Holland that exotic birds had to be killed in the bird hospital. It's just a new law. So they not gonna save a lot of birds, but they have to kill all those birds. So my question is, are there other studies, or do you do other studies for other birds also, or only pigeons?
Theoretically, nicarbazine is effective on any kind of bird, theoretically, because it interferes with the production of vitelline membrane. But there is the need that nicarbazine is absorbed from the guts, of course, otherwise it doesn't interfere with nothing. So as far as I know, there are not so many studies about the absorption of the nicarbazine by the guts. I mean, not more study than one on the chickens, on the main species, the one that are useful by poultry industries. So not in the exotic species for sure. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, it's called exotic, but it's, for example, the Nijlgans, the geese, it's a common bird. Then they call it exotic.
Yeah.
So
I suggest you to speak with Eric Wolf later, because they had a medication. I mean, it's not a medication actually in the United States. It's a biocide. Anyway, they had a product for geese, for Canada geese, the Ovocontrol G. So I think I'm not sure it's on the market anymore, but for sure he knows about absorption in Canadian geese.
okay, thank you.
So you could use Ovistop from Italy, because you are in Europe, you can use only products registered in Europe, but you could use the same from Belgium, which is really close to Holland, but the percentage, the rate, the dose could be catch by the experience of Canada geese. Okay, thank you.